Hey guys, what did the heroin addict get on his IQ test?
What?
Drool.
Hey, man. Welcome to the Big Bad Broadcast, dude.
Hello and welcome to the Big Bad Broadcast.
Woo! Me.
We have a great show for you today. We have sitting in as one of our co-hosts, we have an old friend, great comedian, John Mulrooney.
Yeah, baby. John Mulrooney.
And we got Craig Mitchell, the highest paid guy on the show.
Thank you.
And we got Mike Grief, the dean of the Clown College.
Who let John Mulrooney in? Where the hell, John Mulrooney?
Dude, you haven't lost your overly affected voiceover voice. And here he is now.
John, don't get John started. He does the best impression of me. John does the best impression of me ever.
Oh, we got to hear it then now.
You're not going to believe this. I called up Mulrooney and I said, hey, do you want to do the show? And of course, the first thing he does is remind me that I never paid him back the money I owed him from 1984 at the East Side when he drove and I owed him gas.
Oh, man.
I thought John was doing Don Pardo. That's who I
John, I got one question. I got one question for John Mulrooney. What's the difference between pumpkin pie and pussy?
Dude, do you know how that got started? That whole let me back up a minute. The difference between pumpkin pie and pussy for anybody who is any of you kids out there who are new to the show.
I have no idea.
Bernie Mac, God rest his soul, before he died, Bernie Mac I thought was one of the best comics ever. He was in the rank of Pryor, in my opinion. But he used to do this bit in a very, very unique delivery. You know, people are crazy. You know, let me tell you something, America. Let me tell you what's going on. People out there is crazy. And I saw him do this joke once where he goes, "What's the difference between pumpkin pie and pussy?" And I'm waiting for this big, payoff. And he goes, "I ain't never had no pumpkin pie." And that was it. You know, it's a funny joke, but it's it just kind of it was, what do they call it, it kind of dangled.
Throwaway, just like
throwaway. So I was on stage one night at the Comedy Store, and he had just done that bit on one of his specials. And I said, "Hey, I know some of his guys were in the back room." And I said, "I know some of you guys are friendly with Bernie." I didn't have his number friendly with him, but I said, "If you see him, tell him I have a few tags for that. What's the difference between pumpkin pie and pussy joke?" So there's a big long pause, and people are like, and I said, "Okay, I'll do the setup, and you guys go water." So what's the difference between pumpkin pie and pussy?
What?
You can eat your mother's pumpkin pie. So someone from the back goes, "Do another." I said, "Okay, what's the difference between pumpkin pie and pussy?"
What?
You ain't got to wait till Thanksgiving time to get some pussy. What's the difference between pumpkin pie and pussy?
What?
You can eat the crust around the pumpkin pie. Right?
I got a pumpkin pie. Oh, go ahead.
At one point, I had about
20 of them.
20 of them in a row. And one night, you guys know, audience members never come up with good jokes. It's once in one out of every 1,000. Well, this one night was the 1 out of 1,000. It was right around the OJ trial, and OJ you remember this? OJ had just been acquitted, and this guy comes up to me. He cornered me to tell me this joke, and I'm going, "Oh my God, this is gonna suck." He goes, John, I got the greatest. What's the difference between pumpkin pie and pussy? I'm like, "Okay, what's the difference?" You can eat. He goes, this was it. What's the difference between pumpkin pie and Nicole Brown Simpson's pussy? That was the setup. Okay. God. You can eat the pumpkin pie and the juice won't kill you.
Oh,
shit. All right. I have to add to the story. So we were at Rascals one night, and I think they were doing a benefit for my sister, and Martling was hosting it. And John got in the back and just kept changing seats. he's going, "Hey, joke man, got me a joke," right? And he would just do it like with different voices all around the room. And then finally, after 20 of them, this is the best line ever. He goes, "Joke man, got me a joke," and Jackie goes, "All right, I know. What's the difference between pussy and pumpkin pie?" And John goes, "I don't know, joke man. Why don't you tell us?" And Marley just like freaks out on stage. It was like I never saw him like deprogram, and that's when you did that joke. You go, "I don't know either, but I don't know the difference between Nicole Simpson's pussy and pumpkin pie." And it was like a Howard Stern crowd, and they just lost it. I mean, but the funniest line for comedians was you go, "I don't know, joke man. Why don't you tell us?"
I just want to say though, for anyone who doesn't know John is like one of my comedy heroes. I love you, John. You are probably, and we always talk about you. You always come up on the show because off the cuff, I don't know anyone who is ever funnier and quicker than you on stage.
Absolutely.
Just
the standard when it comes to that.
Well, listen, let Craig talk about me now. We heard from you guys. Go ahead.
Well, I don't have a big history with you, John. I have two incidents or two occurrences. When I was an open micer at Governor's, you were hosting the open mic night. This is like 1987. And I was big and fat and had really dark hair, no beard. And I finished my set, and I guess you were at the bar or something was happening. And I didn't know what to do. And they're like calling for you. And you come running into the room and you went, "Come on, let's hear it for Fred Flintstone." And and the other time you came out, you did time in front of our improv group. We did the Comedy Express at Governor's. You did time. And my mother was at the show. And I said, "Mom, whatever you do, don't heckle this guy. He'll murder you." And she was like, "I would never do anything like that." I'm like, "Yeah, just don't." He. And she stands up in the middle of your act and calls you Potsy.
Potsy.
She called you Potsy.
I vaguely remember that bitch.
Yeah. And you were so nice to her, though, man. You really were nice to her, and I always appreciated that. You could have ripped her a new one, but you didn't, man.
Yeah,
that if you work them the right way, man, a heckler can be your whole show.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's if you're as quick off the cuff.
I remember once at Governor's, there was a Valley girl on the front. She was like, "Gag me with a spoon after everything you want." And John just said, "What do you say? I slap your uterus out of your body with a shovel."
With a shovel.
Well, writing is rewriting, John. I was working on new stuff.
Slap your uterus.
I told him a story before about when we were on Comic Strip Live, and I gave that woman the dead fish. Do you remember
that? Made it to Entertainment Tonight.
Yeah, it was like that? So. I mean, for the people, because we were all talking about the story. So I used to give people. John was the host of Comic Strip Live, and for just a gag, I would give people a stupid parting gift. So I had a dead trout in my jacket. And also I went, here's your parting gift, a lovely dead trout. And I pulled it out of my jacket. And she just went, "Ooh," and she dropped it on the stage. And John came up and did like 5 minutes on the fish. And they covered it on Entertainment Tonight. Yeah, it was live.
Yeah. Wow. Very cool.
I was working the improv one night on Melrose, and I normally closed those shows, but for whatever reason this night I was on fourth, and Seinfeld was on after me. So the place is packed, and as they're introducing me, the guy who is sitting against the stage decides this is the time he's going to get up and go to the bathroom. Now, if you remember the stage, the crowd set up in Melrose was really tight. It was one of those lanes to get to the stage. Only one person at a time could pass.
Right.
So this jackass decided, just as they've introduced me, that now's the time he needs to get up and go to the bathroom.
Oh,
so
man.
Yeah, so he's taking his time, and you have to turn sideways and walk out toward the center of the room. And I'm standing there in the middle of the room waiting for him, to clear the aisle. He gets up to me and he's hammered. He pats me on the shoulder and he goes, "Don't do anything funny till I get back." And I could tell by the way the audience reacted to him that whatever he was doing, he'd just been disrupting the show the whole time.
Oh, no.
So off he goes to the bathroom, And I get on stage and I go, "Oh, has this guy been a problem?" And they go, "Problem?" And then they read me the laundry list of the shenanigans this guy was pulling, which was really strange because the improv, especially on Melrose, they were good at they were good at getting people out. So anyway, like I said, Seinfeld was supposed to go on after me, so he's standing in the back watching. And you know that bit I do with the glass, where I pick the glass up and I lick it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this guy's in the bathroom, and just as he leaves the room, the waitress comes back over. That was another thing. They kept serving him. I don't know why, because they normally would have cut him off. Regardless, she puts the drink down right in front of me. And I go, "Oh, is this his drink?" She goes, "Yeah." I pick it up and I do the whole, hold on, I got a drink here. I'll show you. I do the whole this.
The mouth.
Oh God, licking the whole glass.
The whole glass. I turn it upside down. I stick it back on.
Did you put it in your mouth and do the
whole thing?
I've seen that one.
So the guy comes walking back in literally 30 seconds afterward. The timing, you couldn't have planned it. He walks in and I pick my drink up off the piano and I go, "How about a toast?" This jackass picks up my mug of DNA and he goes, "Let's toast to the asshole on stage." I go, "Yeah, I'm an asshole." He goes, "You're an asshole." I go, "I'm a dick." "You're a dick." I go, "I'm the biggest dick." "You're the biggest dick in the world." Cheers. And he downs it. He downs the whole thing and bangs it back onto the table. The place,
the audience got nuts.
Like the Pope walked in with the president. I mean, like they rehearsed it. The whole, like 1, 2, 3, boom, explosion. This jackass, in his drunken stupor, thinks they're applauding him.
Yeah. Right, he killed. Like he killed.
He's walking through the aisle, through the club like Rocky. He's literally making the rounds, pumping his fist up in the air, like, yeah, thumbs up to everybody.
All jokes on him.
In the back, he's dancing the victory dance. He finally makes it back to the seat, and you guys know what 2 minutes is like on stage. I mean, two whole minutes of the laughs would roll in, they would subside, they would roll back in, and subside. I'm just leaning against the stage, twirling my drink with a straw, and I'm just waiting for it to quiet enough just to say something. I'm not sure what I'm going to say yet, but he's sitting down now, and finally it's getting a little bit quiet, and I look at the audience and I go, "So, who's going to tell him?" And I see him. He leans into his friends, and I can't hear him, but I can see him mouth. Help me watch. And they're pointing at the drink, and they're getting it out in bits and pieces, and they're going. And he's going. He's looking at the drink and he's going. And finally, he looks back up at me one last time, and I just hold my drink up and I go, "Told you I was a dick." He put his head. This is the only time I got scared. He put his head down on the table with his hands folded in front of him, and he didn't move. That really scared me because I thought. I really thought he was going to do like something crazy at that point because I'd never seen anyone react like that.
Right.
He wound up actually doing nothing, but here was the PS to the story. I couldn't follow it.
Right.
I was 10 minutes on stage. I just blew me off the stage. I just got a friggin' standing ovation, and I had nothing to follow it. The rest of my act, I struggled.
Wow.
And I get off the stage, and as I'm passing the sound booth, Seinfeld is standing there. He sees the whole thing and he goes, "It's John Midway Mulrooney, the only comedian I know that gets a standing ovation midway through his act." And so every time I saw him after that night, I was Midway Mulrooney.
Midway Mulrooney.
Midway Mulrooney.
You ever have somebody come up on stage? And I mean, you're a pretty big dude. You ever have somebody come up on stage that wanted to fucking, you make fun of them? And
come on, you know this story. You heard it.
No, I actually maybe I have heard it, but I can't
Just
remember.
my mother.
I can't remember.
Is this top of the town?
This was at Cinnamon's with Rich Carrot.
Richie Barrety, the karate guy.
Did you set him up for this?
No, not at all. I swear to God.
1984, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm on stage, and there's this. You know the story, right, John?
Oh yeah. I think I was there with Minervini in the back.
I don't know this.
No, it was Lazinski. Lazinski was there.
No, but I think
night.
we just came down. We were working on the east side, and then we just came down. We were at the bar going, "Oh no."
So there's a little. It was a small club, but they packed it. It probably shouldn't have held more than 110, but they jammed like 200 people into this place.
Yeah.
And there was this woman sitting up front with huge boobs, and I'm teasing her, about like how big her boobs are.
Right.
And from the back of the room, I hear, "Hey man, why don't you leave her alone?" And I'm like, why don't you mind your own business? And boom, 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 back and forth, a couple of lines. The next thing I hear, again from the back of the room, "I'm going to get on you now."
Oh,
so the guy gets up on stage, and I know it's a problem right away. He's missing an eye. He's got a ponytail down to the middle of his back.
And dragons on both arms.
Yeah. Never good.
Praise all of these tattoos. God bless bullets. Pray for war. Love sucks.
And he's also dressed like Evil Knievel.
Sounds like my
right?
dad. That was my dad.
John, he was also dressed like Evil Knievel, right?
He
one of
was
those
dressed like Evil Knievel, and this was in the day where tattoos were not in yet.
Right.
Yeah.
If you had tattoos, you were either a criminal or a sailor or both.
Or a biker.
Or a biker.
Because I had them back then. So,
So the guys, I didn't know at the time, but the guy's name was Richie Barrety. He invented some kind of style of fighting called American Combat Karate.
He was the sixth highest rated karate guy in the country.
I know the name, yeah.
So he's standing there and he's going line on line with me for a couple of minutes. And he wasn't getting laughs, but he stood there just.
He's also a local. I should add, he's also a local, so almost everyone in that club knows who he is.
Yes, except me.
Right. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have fucking said nothing to him.
Yeah, and it's going back and forth, and it's not going anywhere. And he goes, "Hey, you're a pretty funny guy," and he's tapping me on the shoulder, and I'm like, looking at the shoulder, I'm thinking, what the hell does this guy tap me on the shoulder for? And it was one of those, classic misdirection moves. I'm looking at my shoulder. He hooked his foot behind the heel of my foot, and I was standing completely flat-footed, and he simply palmed me in the chest, and I wound up tripping over his ankle. So I bounced back up real quick, and I said, "Jackass," I said, "what's your fucking problem?" And he steps back like this over-exaggerated Elvis move, like one of those.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, this was a decade before computers or personal computers. And it was just like a drop-down menu in my mind. Like there's a list of options, cry like a little girl, jump out the window behind me, run.
Kick Elvis in the balls.
What's that?
Or kick Elvis in the balls.
Kick Elvis in the balls, take a swing. And, finally I picked the one that I thought would be most effective, and it seemed to be. I said, "Okay, jerk off." I said, "You got the stage now. It's your show. You took over." I said, "You're in charge. Now what?" And he just froze in that position. I said, "No, come on." I said, "You want to hit me? Go ahead, hit me." There's two.
Oh, you muted yourself, John.
You muted yourself.
Yeah,
there you
go.
It was too.
So what do you want to do? Your move. What do you want to do? So I could tell just by his body language and the look on his face that he thought he would have the audience with him. And when he didn't, that's when he started to break. His confidence started to break.
Right.
Thank God.
So he slowly, the smile, the smirk began to dissolve. And he backed off the stage. And that was the other thing. He never took his eye off of me. As he
must have studied with Mr. Miyagi.
Wax on and jerk off. And so out he goes. I get off the stage. I go, "That's it. The show's over." Now all hell breaks loose because the owner comes out and is freaking out because do you remember the bouncer there, John? He was 6'9". Do you remember that dude?
Yeah, huge guy.
He was enormous, and he comes out, and of course he goes right up to the bouncer, and he goes, "What happened? What happened?" And he goes, "Barrety knocked Mulrooney over on stage." And this is when I started to get an idea as to what this guy was all about. He goes, He goes, well, why didn't you do anything? And this guy, 6'9", said, it's Richie Baratheon. He goes, you do something. And that's when the club owner got quiet. And I was like, oh, I don't know what the hell. Anyway, long story short, they're screaming at me to go back up on stage. And it really took, I got to tell you, it took a lot for me to collect myself. And because I had no intention of getting back on stage, but the audience is going, we want John, we want John. So I went, okay, you know what? Because he was already gone. And I got back up on stage and I took a look around real quick and I went, it's a good fucking thing he left. So I finished the show. And once again, I get off stage and I'm getting like, I'm starting to figure out who this guy and what this guy is. He was Cooney's bodyguard. He was part owners in that place too. Did you remember that, John?
Yeah.
And I Jerry said, Cooney's bodyguard?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Bodyguard.
Bodyguard?
Yeah.
Yes.
And so
he was Mick Jagger's bodyguard at one time.
Well, I mean, come on, it's Mick Jagger, but Clooney.
So, two things. As soon as the show was over, I remember I went right to the local police station, and it's interesting because the police stations out there in Long Island they were set up just like the ones in Brooklyn. It was very odd. I'd never been in a police station in Long Island, but I go in. And there's this big desk where the desk sergeant sits behind, and I'll never forget it. I walk up, the desk sergeant's not even looking at me. He's doing some kind of paperwork. And he goes, I said, yeah, my name is so-and-so. I want to file a complaint against Richie Baratheon. The guy took a beat. He pulled his glasses off. I'll never forget it.
That's never a good sign.
He leans over the desk, this giant, it's almost like a judge's bench. He leans over and he looks at me from the feet to the head and back again. And he goes, you're trying to tell me that you were in a fight with Richie Baratheon and you're here to talk about it? And I said, what is this, the fucking Wild West? I said, yeah, the guy knocked me over. I want to make a complaint. And he goes, you sure? So anyway, I filed a complaint, but the PPS to the story is I go to Rick Messina was our manager. He handled me, he handled John, he handled Drew Carey, he handled Tim Allen. I go the next day, Rick called me to his house. He had an apartment in Queens. And he goes, meets me at the door with a joint in his hand and his boa constrictor. And he goes, yeah, do you remember that fucking thing that he had?
Yeah.
Messina? I remember his iguana.
No, he had a giant boa constrictor. It was like a fire hose. And he goes, yeah, I just want to show you the guy whose ass you were going to kick. And he takes a VHS tape. He pops it into his cassette recorder.
Is that the Tonight Show tape?
It was this guy on the Tonight Show, the guy who knocked me over on stage, whose ass I was going to kick. He was on the Tonight Show attempting to break the world record of flaming cinder blocks with a bare hand.
Yeah, he broke 13 1-inch pieces of granite that were on fire.
Right.
And his hand caught on fire and he got all burned, but he was
his whole thing,
a tough guy.
He
shook Carson's hand and you could see it just grimaced in pain.
Did he die trying to jump the Snake River Canyon? Because this fucking guy can't be alive anymore.
No, he's not alive.
No.
You know how he died? Diabetes, I heard.
No, really? Brain tumor.
Was it? Because that's I heard that's how he lost his eye. It wasn't because of some crazy fight.
Okay, so
did you eventually make friends with this guy? Or I mean, like, was he a threat every time you were in Long Island?
No, I did. It was as friendly as you could be with a guy like that. I mean, I walked up to him, punched myself in the face, and said I was sorry.
Wow. Okay,
well, John, you're the guest.
Baratheon legend story is there was a biker bar in Huntington, and he went in the back once because somebody ripped him off on a coke deal, and apparently he beat up like 15 bikers.
Oh shit!
And the bottom line was,
I don't believe that. Everyone's got that.
Listen.
What is this, the Bronx Tale?
No, listen. What he did was apparently, because this is what it said in Newsday, he put a bar stool on each arm and spun his way out of the bar. He didn't plan on beating these guys up, but he just knocked the shit out of these guys as he was spinning out of the bar.
That sounds like an Incredible Hulk movie.
So Rich E. Minervini, who owned the Eastside Comedy Club, hired him as security at his club. You know this part, John?
I knew that
The
he worked at
ninja,
Pizza.
the ninja story.
That's a fucking smooth
Yes,
move.
they
Hire a
dress-
psychotic
yes.
guy.
Okay,
Yes.
so he used to have dragons on his arms,
Yeah.
and what happened was when
I
he
got one. I
pulled
got
out
a dragon right here. on
when
my
he
arm.
pulled the ponytail out and shook out his hair and rolled up his sleeves, and you saw the dragons, you know someone was going to die.
Is that what he did when wasn't that from Kung Fu when he used to fuck? Remember when
I
you had
don't
to
know.
graduate? You had
Yes,
to
he held
grab
the
the cauldron with
Yeah,
fucking your forearms.
yeah.
But there was a
and pick it
big guy that worked at Eastside, a tough guy named Greg, big, huge guy, and he was a bouncer. And the night that Greg was off, Rich Jenny, bless his heart, was on stage with my daughter. With Caroline was the manager at the time, my sister. So anyway, Barathy comes in, right, and holds the entire bar at bay doing karate moves, breaking glasses and shit.
Holy shit.
And like everyone was like petrified. So Caroline comes walking out with Rich Jenny, and Jenny goes, "Holy shit, don't you have security?" And Caroline goes, "That is security."
It sounds like that SNL bit with the fuck
So
when
wait,
they're drunk
wait.
and they're talking about, who's the guy who, fucking not
Wait.
Barathy. Nobody can.
So you guys remember Kenny? They used to work there. He used to
Yeah.
work at Governor's. Little Kenny looked like Beefsteak Charlie.
Oh, Kenny Quinn.
Yeah, Kenny Quinn. He walks up to Barathy and he goes, "All right, Richie." So Simon, remember Simon from
Omnipop?
Omnipop?
Yeah.
So Kenny goes to Simon, "You're the bouncer. You do something." So he walks up. This is the greatest ever. He walks up to Richie Barathy and goes, "All right, Richie, I had your fun. It's time to go." And Richie Barathy apparently goes into this rage and he starts shaking. And everyone loves Simon. There's nothing bad you can say about Simon. And he goes like this, you better stop that English shit.
What is he? What?
You better
Stop
stop that English shit."
Simon had an English accent.
So Kenny walks up to him and goes, "You got to leave." So he leaves. Caroline calls the police and says our bouncer just went nuts and is holding the entire club at bay. So they lock all the doors, right? And they get everybody out of there. So now it's just the waitresses, Kenny, and Greg, who's off that night is the only one who could do anything. And all of a sudden they're in the club and he comes diving through the window with all in full ninja attire.
What?
Throwing stars and shit into the wall. And the cops don't come because they think they've already responded to the call. Because it was like 10 minutes later. So they're all petrified.
That
They're all
fucking brain
petrified.
tumor started a long time before.
Yeah, no,
killed
it
him.
was. So Kenny walked up to him and said, little Kenny walks up and says, "All right, you got to leave right now. You got to leave." And he leaves. He leaves. So Richie comes home from the cruise the next day and they tell Richie, and Richie has to go fire him. So Richie goes over there and says, "Look, we've been lifelong friends and, everything is really good. And, unfortunately, I could lose my liquor license. You can't really act like that." And, Richie's going, yeah, no, I totally understand. It was really out of line and blah, blah, blah. And Richie goes, "All right, so then we're good." And he said, "No." And Richie said, "What?" He goes, "No matter how long you live, you need to look over your shoulder because someday I will find you and I will kill you."
Holy shit.
So Richie says 5 years go by. He's in front of them. He's in front of the Huntington Mall in his restored Cadillac little sports car he had.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. He has a little sports car. And he says he looks over and there's Richie Barathy and his wife. And he goes, "Honk," and gives him a wave. And Richie gets out of the car, goes over and drop kicks Richie's windshield in. Just starts destroying the whole stuff. Put $5,000 worth of damage in his car. He goes, "People are going through the red light." Like everything. And yeah, that was it. And then he died like 2 days later of a brain tumor.
Oh, damn.
I remember Richie telling me that story. And Rich Jenny was my roommate when that whole thing with Barathy at Eastside went down too. He goes, "Loon, your friend showed up in a ninja outfit."
It's amazing nobody shot him. I mean, God, it's like,
You are correct, because I used to carry a gun back in those days, and he, according to Richie, the first time he came into the club, he jumped on stage with that sword, and there's not a doubt in my mind back then I would have shot him.
Yeah,
and probably
shit.
from behind.
My only run-in with him when I was working at the comic strip in Fort Lauderdale, he came in with Jerry Cooney. He was dressed like Evel Knievel. I called him up on stage, didn't realize who he was, like John. And I go, nice outfit. What'd you do, blow Evel Knievel?
Oh,
Ooh,
damn.
nice.
And I went to
good.
get something out of my bag, and he literally jumped over my head in a karate move. Whoa!
I thought you were going to say,
And
next
then on
thing
the
I know,
other
there's
side.
spooky stuff inside my
And
ass.
everyone started laughing, and Jerry goes, come on, come down, it'll be all right. And that was it.
Oh,
and then we were
man.
kind of like friends. We just lost John.
No, it's just his pictures. I can see
Oh,
his
hold on,
audio
hold
is
on.
still there.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. You
I
know what
mean-
is my
I mean,
standby game.
that's an
How's that?
amazing. Yeah, there you go. That was amazing. I mean, that's nothing can top that story. But I was working a little shit bar one time. I don't remember what position in the show I was, and this one big guy.
And
Probably
Richie
bent
Garrison
over.
came in.
Well, no, this one big guy's heckling me, and I was going. I'm playing it, and he goes, "That's it, you're dead." And he charged up the middle of the club, and I'm like, and he came up on stage. Now this is when I weighed 194 pounds. Today I think I would have herniated him, but he grabbed me and he actually lifted me over his head on the stage, and I'm like, this guy's going to throw me out the window. This guy's going to throw me into the audience. Then he put me down and patted me in the back and goes, "You're okay.
You're okay.
You're okay."
I never really had those fucking problems. Not too many people were gonna fucking heckle me or come up on the stage because I honestly, it's like people think you're a character, you're this, you're that. But I grew up in the fucking projects.
I'm
If
afraid
you
to
come
heckle
up
you
on the
now,
stage, first
Mike.
thing I'm gonna do is kick you in the fucking chair. I mean,
Yeah, I'm afraid to heckle you now, and you're my
you
friend.
should be. So shut the fuck up, Craig. Men are talking.
Joey-
Make me a
Joey-
sandwich.
Joey Cole has this story that he worked with. He only took the job because he needed a Bob Woods story.
Hey John. By the way, Labriola says hello.
What? What do you mean?
Jimmy says hello. How you
About what?
doing?
Who say what to?
So what was that gig that Jerry Stanley had? It was downstairs.
Not the pizza place.
It almost looked like a miniature Rascals. The stair was to the right of the stage.
There's something Penny Arcade.
Yeah, Penny Arcade.
I love
So
the
Woods-
Penny Arcade.
So Bob Woods is on stage, right? Joey Cola just finishes up, and these two guys just heckling Woodsy from the beginning of his show to the end, and he's just sitting there and he's taking it because when he gets into that mode, he's just going to take it. And Bob Woods is a really good friend of ours that passed away. Finally, he goes, "So did you like my show? Sheila McRae, Art Connie, Nelly, excuse me, I got to kick these guys' asses." And he dives on stage and grabs these two guys in a headlock. And the third guy jumps on his shoulder and he goes, "Cola, get the car and the money." So Joey gets the car, and just the way Cola tells the story goes, and I've heard him tell it a million times, he pulls up in front of the thing, and there's Woodsy with the two guys in a headlock and the one guy in his head like beating them. And Woodsy goes like this, "And now, my friends, it's time to say goodnight," and slams these two guys' heads together, flips the other guy off his head, and gets in the car. And Joey says, "I'm petrified." He goes, "I don't know this guy or anything." He goes, "We get about 3 miles away," and Woodsy looks at him and goes, "Pal, in the next couple of months, you might hear some stories about me. None of them are true."
See, that's one of my regrets. I never met Woodsy. I mean, he must have he died before I came to Long
Woodsy
Island.
was
but-
great, and he had a memory that was unbelievable.
That's so
Unbelievable.
funny. He was so funny.
John, I wanted to ask you. I don't. You may not know anything about this, but when I was starting out, there
Brinks
was a
job.
comic
No.
who idolized you no end. He imitated you not imitated you, but he tried to do his act like you, play the audience.
And that was all of us.
No, I'm talking about Dan Sheehan. Do you know Dan Sheehan?
Dan Sheehan. Yeah, I know Dan.
You know what
in
happened to him,
jail.
right?
No.
He's in jail as a terrorist.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
He's in jail as a terror. Oh, is that right? He threatened to blow something up, right?
Tried to
if
blow
he
up
has
Home
help,
Planted
Depot.
4 pipe bombs in different
Walmarts or some shit.
no, in
I thought it
different
was
Home
Home Depot
Depot
or Lowe's.
Home
Home Depot.
Depots.
Yeah.
When was this?
Oh, about 4 years ago, and
Yeah.
basically said I need $1 million deposited in my account, or I'm setting off these pipe bombs. And apparently they were pipe bombs, but they had no detonators in them.
Right.
You're not too fucking bright. I mean, pipe bomb. Who's gonna pay $1 million for fucking blow Home Depot up? Who cares? You got to have human hostages if you want the money.
And yeah, he was found guilty of terrorism.
Yeah, he
Domestic
never
terrorism.
stopped talking about you. You were his idol and all that stuff. And on
Well,
stage,
you better stop talking. John's going to hope he didn't talk about me when he went to jail.
When's he getting out?
Yeah. Then he wants to have coffee with you and then go to Home Depot.
You know, and you guys heard this story so many times. I'm sorry, it's my favorite story, the Dan Sheehan Bobby story.
I love this story.
So, Bob, you worked for
Bobby from
Dangerfields, right?
Oh yeah.
John?
Oh, of course, yeah. Bobby.
Yeah, so we walk in.
The fucking worthless
I
sack of
walk
shit
in,
tied
I
in the
walk
middle,
in,
John.
and I walk in, and he goes, "How are you doing, Mr. Ferrentino?" Menavrini walks in, he goes, "Oh, Richie, it's good to see you." Dan Chin walks in, he goes, "Oh, shit." So Dan right away just goes, "Listen, the reason why I don't get anything in this club, tell me why, Danny boy." He goes, "Because you don't give me a good intro." "Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe it is my fault." He goes, takes out a pad out of his pocket. He goes, "Tell me what you want me to say." So he goes like this. He goes, I've been doing college. Oh, college is very nice. Headlining comedy clubs, very good. Going to be on Comic Strip Live? Oh, that's an excellent credit. And he's going through the whole big thing, and he goes like this. And he goes, "So you ready?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Sheehan." Dan Sheehan comes up, and he's all pissed off, and he goes to Bobby, "Listen, man, that's what I'm talking about." And Bobby puts his arm around him and goes, "Listen, Danny, my boy, no one cares what you're doing because you're fucking going nowhere."
Wow. Yeah, he's going to jail. Is where he's going.
Brutal. It was brutal.
Well, he was right.
John, you know what I was thinking of the other day, man? When we were doing Midtown North, man. I just remember I stayed in your apartment for like a week with you. I just remember cruising around in that convertible you used to have.
The GTO.
That was a fun car. Yeah.
Oh my God, we had
GTO.
such good. And you were. Do you still fly? You were flying a plane because I remember you asked me if I wanted to go up. Well, you said I was kind of big. I know I probably would have off balanced your plane, but
Yeah, we would have had to put you on a roof rack.
But I just remember thinking, I just remember thinking, I don't want to drive with this guy. Like I'm gonna fucking fly with him,
Or do
But,
constant barrel rolls.
But I just remember having the time of my life, man. We shot that Midtown North with all those incredible actors, and then fucking you showing me around Hollywood. I just wanted to let you know if that was like the friggin' one of the times of my life.
You did the
It
same
was
thing.
always, it was fun driving around in that.
Yeah, you did the
car.
same thing for Rob Graydon and Steve Strangio. They never stopped talking about that. They thought it was the greatest thing you did.
We had some good times, my friends. We had some good times.
Yeah.
We had so many good times on Comic Strip Live too. Shit.
Yeah.
We just had so fun.
The business has changed. The business sure have changed.
Yeah. So this is my favorite John Mulrooney story, and I'll start it, and then John can finish the story. We were doing comedy tonight, and John used to do this great impression of from The Rich and Famous.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to Robin Leach. What's Robin Leach?
Good
So-
evening and welcome to Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
That is good.
So anyway, so I get to the show, and they go to me, "Look, you got to keep Mulrooney out of the dressing room. You got to keep Mulrooney. We got to keep him separated and all this stuff." And I'm like, "Why?" And they go, "Oh, we got a big surprise." So John comes out and he starts doing his Robin Leach impression, and he's killing it, right? And then all of a sudden, Robin Leach walks out behind him, but John doesn't know it. And so now the audience says everything he says is Robin
You remember
Leach.
this, John?
Of course I remember. Yeah.
So you take it from there. It's just so funny.
Well, I was on stage, and I remember closing with that bit, and I got a laugh. It got the laugh it normally does, and then suddenly it got turbo laughed, and I was like, "Wow!" I'm on stage, typical comic. I'm going, "Man, I'm
And
really."
he's getting so cocky. He's getting so cocky.
I'm getting really cocky. I'm dancing around a little bit. I'm flexing. I have no idea he's behind me, and you see it's a genuine reaction. I nearly jumped off the stage.
When he taps you on your shoulder, you almost got whiplash. He goes, "Whoa!" And he goes, "Ha ha." He goes, "Can you do me?" Remember what he said?
Yeah. No, well, I said that on mic, and then when we went to the commercial, I said, "You ever fucking do that again, and we're gonna have a problem."
He said to John. John goes, "Can you do me?" And he looks at John. He goes, "I don't do annoying Italian accents or something."
Oh,
Yeah. He
Oh,
grabs the
man.
mic and he goes, "The voice. You have to learn to do the voice."
The voice.
Hello and welcome to Lifestyles of the Poor and Insignificant.
I do my impression, but my impression is Dana Carvey doing. I'm Robin Leach and I don't know why. Yeah.
That was Metro Media Studios back I think it was 64th Street, Manhattan, when they just were taken over by Fox.
It was like a regular gig, man, on the weekends, right?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. We were there just to give you an idea, a temporal marker of how in the middle of the change we were. They were literally, when we started that show, excuse me, scraping off. Stand by, it's all that Canadian smoke coming our way.
Where are you? Are you in New York?
I'm in New York. Yeah. They were scraping off the Metro Media Studios, and they were cleaning the glass because they were about to. Remember when they used to have glass painters, no stencils? This guy, artist, they were about to paint Fox Studios on it. So the guy had scraped all of the old decals and all the old logos off, and the thing was squeaky clean. You couldn't even tell there was a door there. And who comes down walking with a sense of urgency? I guess he had a story to report on. Was Gabe Pressman. Do you remember that guy? Right. He doesn't know the door is closed. But everything was spotless. And he's looking at I guess his assignment. He's looking down at his assignment and he's leading with his face. And I wanted to go, hey Gabe, you might want to boom. He hit the door and broke his nose.
Oh God!
Did it shatter?
No, he didn't do anything to the glass, but he broke his nose. You know when a nose breaks, it went. Right. And the funny part was he had all of this you know that that heavy TV makeup.
Right.
It left a perfect 8x10 of his face.
They should have shellacked it and left it there.
But yeah, even the artist went like, "That's pretty good. I should just leave that." You know.
That reminds me of a joke by Howard Jacobson where he used to go, "Tammy Faye slept over my house," and he would hold up a pillowcase, and it was a perfect imprint of her face and makeup.
Yeah.
Fucking prop acts.
Fuck.
Howard did props. Howard didn't give a shit.
So John, what are you up to these days, man?
I'm keeping the streets of Ulster County safe.
I heard something about that.
Keeping the seaways laughing.
So you're a policeman. You're an actual, no fucking honorary,
no more honorary. Yeah, no more decoy undercover stuff. Real thing. I go put on my bat suit and fight crime a couple days a week, and then I pick up the mic and I fight depression.
I gotta ask, do you ever get funny like during an arrest or during an interview? You do? Oh man, that was
always.
I love the story of when
Hey John, tell them the story.
I think
we're being punked on the ride along.
You're being bumped? What?
No, I think we're being punked. Remember when the ride along with your brother or something? When they used to
tell the story on stage.
Yeah, they had the big guys it was like a drug bust, I think.
Oh no, that was we were on I was still doing comic strips, so I was pretty well known in New York. I was easily recognized, let's say that, because the show was on once a week and we've constantly ran promos with my face on it. And it was a pretty popular show, I mean, we beat Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, it was a great
on a fairly regular basis.
I love that show. I watch it every week.
And of course, this was before body cameras and all that other stuff. So my these guys had taken me along, and they got a call for a domestic, and it was a husband wife. And the first thing they do is you separate the arguing parties and try to figure out what's going on. So one group of cops was with the wife, and I happened to be with the husband. And it seemed like he had a legitimate gripe. He's standing there and he goes, "Officers," he goes, "I'm not," he goes, "I'm just a working guy." He goes, "I work 2 jobs." He goes, "She don't work. And the deal is this." He goes, "I said, yo, baby, just keep the place clean. Keep the clothes clean. I'll pay for everything. Do some shopping, make some food once in a while. And you don't have to worry about nothing. I'll take care of everything." Well, I home from work on my second job. He goes, ain't no food cooked. He said, there's a big old pile of dirty clothes in the middle of the living room. He go, and I got upset. I said, yo, baby, what's up? You know the deal. There ain't no food. He said, and all that laundry piled up in the middle of the living room. That was our agreement. And she goes, you can't tell me what to do. You can't boss me around. And I cut in and I go, well, she's been watching too many Oprahs. The guy looks at me and he goes, John Mulrooney. and that was, everyone started laughing. Now I got scared because I'm in plain clothes, obviously, but I'm thinking they're going to get in trouble if they find out they brought me along on this, unauthorized ride along.
Right.
So I'm backpedaling. I'm going, no, that's, you got the wrong guy. That's what he goes, don't lie to me. You're John Mulrooney. I watch you every Saturday night on Comic Strip Live. He goes, I don't believe this. I had a fight with my old lady, and John Mulrooney showed up. Next time, I'll kill the bitch and Eddie Murphy be here.
You know what? It was popular. Those were the days when, and I mean this literally. I remember going home on Saturday night to watch to watch Comic Strip Live.
Absolutely.
Today, you record, you do this, that, but there was no such thing. You had to go. You had to be home on a Saturday night.
I had to go home and watch it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and
also we had a party. A party. It was me, Rob Graydon, and Steve Stranger once again. Went the first night.
I'm trying to make it look like you had friends, Craig.
They were cardboard cutouts, Mike. Will you give me a break? So we would sit there and we watched your first night on the Late Show, which we were just like.
Oh yeah, I remember that. We did the same thing.
Is that the one you took over from Joan Rivers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Late Show. Yes. Okay. A lot of people don't know that. John got Joan Rivers had a show, and whatever happened, and John took that over.
Yeah, when she left, but I was so disappointed because I don't think they gave you a fair deal. They just should have let you. I know because you were splitting it like every other night with. Was it Ross Schaefer?
It was Ross Schaefer, but here's the deal. It's not, my opinion. It's not that they didn't give me a fair shake. I think they did. I simply think that wokeism was starting to, even back then, was starting to come in, and they didn't want, the toxic masculine in there. They wanted somebody who was, a little less aggressive and maybe not mean.
Well, I know they did let you go into the audience.
You can't walk in the studio with your cock out, John.
I didn't. With someone
No, but I thought they missed the thing because I thought that you would have been the perfect host for like a 10 o'clock blue collar talk show host. You know what I mean? For people that had to get up a little bit earlier.
People like us. Yeah, people like us.
Yeah.
Working folks who, we're just looking for a couple of laughs. I'm not going to do anything too over the top, but maybe a little edgy. But, I'm not kidding you. There were, even back then, I can't tell you how many times I was told, we need a minority. It was like, but I'm obviously the pick for this, whatever it was. And they're like, yeah, no, but this is from a corporate. You used to get that shit all the time. This is from corporate, we need a minority. I'm like, so it's not what's good for the show. You need a minority. And that's, even back then it was starting to
shit's always been like that. It's still the same
like
that for 30 years,
My friend got they were going to reboot ridiculous. They were going to reboot the show Coach a couple of years ago, and it never happened. But they cast my friend as a regular, as a character in the show, and he signed all the contracts. They're about to shoot the pilot, and they were going to go write the series. And like 3 days before, they said they had to let him go. They paid his contract, but they said we have to have an African American in there.
Yep.
And then not about talent, not about who. Look, the guy might have been great. I'm not saying that, but I think it's the wrong reason to do that.
Yeah,
that's what Hollywood is right now.
It's been like that for a while, but now it's insane. It's insane like that. Now they, back then it was more spoken in whispers. Now it's actually in black and white, and they'll tell you.
I don't know.
It's what Chris Rock.
Best man for the job. Everything should just be best man for the job. It's what
Chris Rock said on his last special. The reason why white people are so pissed off is there's no white couples on commercials.
That's right.
It's true. No, do you find you still do stand up? Do you find that you have to change what you do on stage, or do
I
you just?
absolutely do not, and that's why I'm not working that much.
Oh, that's
I
sad.
wouldn't do that either, man. I'm not really doing,
I refuse.
I do it every blue moon, but I will not change what I do to suit the fucking crowd. It's like, I think it's like Dice. Remember Dice? You find your audience, they find you. You know what I mean? There's
They
gonna
find
people
you.
that are gonna fucking hate you, and there's gonna be people that love you.
And I think
And
it's going to change. It can't stay like this. It just can't. It's going to go
On
back.
a side note, I didn't take that shot. They tried to force me into taking shots. I refused to take the shot, and even as a cop, I refused to wear that fucking mask. Especially around kids. I was a school resource officer working in the schools, and I butted heads with the principal because I wouldn't wear the mask. And he pulled me in one day, and we got into it. And he goes, "You're an authority figure, and you need to show these children that you're doing the right thing." And I said, "You know what? That's why I'm not wearing it, because I knew those masks were not healthy, and it wasn't just me thinking that. I did my research." I said, and they're not going to see me, an authority figure, standing there and telling them that at 5 years old, it's good for you little guys to cover half your face, choke yourselves off, and interfere with your development as far as being able to read facial expressions and read lips as part of a growing young person who needs to see that to form words and to communicate with your peers. I said, no, I'm not going to stand here and let them know that that's okay. He went, well, yeah, then you can stand outside. I will stand outside for the rest of the day, just in case some lunatic shows up with a gun. But this will be the last time I'm here in this fucking school. And it was.
Well, but I mean, yeah. Well, what do you think the answer is comedy wise? I mean, since that's what we've done the majority of our lives, do you think eventually we're gonna be able to say it's just gonna go back to the way it was, or do you think it's permanently changed?
No, it's permanently changing. It's not permanently changed. I think that any comic should take, my opinion, should take the lead and be inspired by the likes of Carlin, of Dick Gregory, of Pryor, to some degree.
I think they are out there, though. I think there are.
Yeah, Bill Burr. I love Bill Burr.
Burr is out there doing it.
Yeah.
Rob Schneider is out there doing it. Rogan is definitely doing it.
Yeah.
Bill Maher is doing it.
Yeah.
Russell Brand is doing it. You think about
Louis C.K. does it.
We're in a transformational time. We're in a transformational time. It's like,
but if you think about it, all of these guys that are out there, Dave Chappelle is the perfect example, but it's guys like us. You think about all these comics that are on the leading edge of being that spokesperson. I don't think most people know that Tucker did stand up.
Tucker Carlson?
Tucker
Carlson used to do
stand up. He did it every night on Fox.
Yeah. Finally, you came up with a good. You've been on the phone for an hour now. Are you funny?
It takes me time to warm up, John.
I had an open mic night at McGuire's in Bohemia, and you know who used to come down back in 91, 92 and did time? Brian Kilmeade, all the time.
Okay, yeah.
All the time.
Who's that?
He's on Fox and Friends in the morning.
Well, yeah.
Just like, oh yeah, okay. And I gotta tell you, all due respect, and I kind of mean that.
I kind of mean that.
I don't really mean that. I just
he was not. I have to be honest. He was not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but you had to respect that he was trying to do comedy. I always respected anybody who got on stage with just the jokes they wrote. That's always it's
always the weirdest fucking people who try comedy for some. I've seen like professional wrestlers and fucking people you'd never expect.
Johnny Valiant. Comedy.
No, there's not that guy Mankind. I forgot his name, but he was like a wrestler, and he went and they're just like the way you go. Why the fuck? It's like, geez, everyone thinks they're funny. I don't know.
I can't think of Mankind's name all of a sudden.
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
Nice guy. He's super free. He writes children's books.
I'm sure he's like a wonderful guy, but
I'll think of his name. I just can't think of it off the top of my head.
I remember once when I was hanging out with John Mendoza, and we were working in a club, and this two new comics came up to us and said, they go to John Mendoza. They go, so do you have any advice for a new comic? And John goes, yeah, the boom is over.
I got the best one. I asked Sam Kennedy.
Find another profession. We have too many comics.
Yeah.
His name is Mick Foley, by the way.
Mick Foley. There you go. I remember asking Kinnison for advice for a young comic, and he fucking told me date waitresses.
The best was, do you guys remember John Fox?
Yes,
Oh,
I love John Fox. I love John Fox.
John Fox advice to a comic who was, he was all gaga on a first night in town, just fawning over him. Mr. Fox, that's how you know he didn't know who he was talking to. Mr. Fox, do you have any advice for a young comedian? He goes, yeah, kid, never bang a waitress on a Tuesday night. She'll cock block you for the rest of the week.
Oh my God. I just remember working with him at Rascals, and fuck, we were drunk. We were drunk for a whole fucking week. And
yeah.
Oh my God.
I would go down every time he was at Governor's. I would make sure I went and saw his late show. Always. He fucking killed me.
I'm surprised.
We had some fun hanging out, man.
So much fun. Yeah, did you? What comics did you admire when you were we're getting close to the end of the show? I wanted to ask, what comics did you admire when you were?
Who were your influences, man?
I went out of my way to go watch Bob Nelson as much as I could.
Isn't he like a Purios? Like not real? Like I would think.
Nelson was, in my opinion, he was the epitome of comedy talent. Now that was local. Of course, Eddie was up there with him.
Yeah.
But then when I got to LA and I got to see and work, with
real comics.
Jim.
Yeah, you can say it.
No. But Nelson was to me. Nelson was the best, and he was in the same ballpark with, and in fact, Jim Carrey. Let me just cut to the chase. Jim Carrey was the guy. I mean, I remember watching him do things on stage that just weren't human.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at it and go, I know that's a human being, but how is a human being doing that? I mean, physically, emotionally, creatively, he was just on another level.
Yeah, I saw him at Governor's once, at Governor's. Remember Governor's had a club in Connecticut?
Yes.
I did. Yeah. So I went up there. Yeah, I went to see him, and he was getting pretty big at that time. And it's just so funny. Back to the thing, and I went in the backstage, and he goes, "Hey, you're that magician from Comic Strip Live." He goes, "Big fan," which really was cool to me.
Fucking, wow. I made him fucking crack up. I almost throw up, but it was because I smashed my head. I said that fucking little part I did in that movie, Liar, Liar. It's in a van. The van spins around because he cut me off. I stick my head out of the van. I go, "What's your problem, schmuck?" So this one take, I put my head out, and I just fucking smashed my head into the top of the thing. And he comes over. He's fucking like, I can hardly breathe. He's like, "We're gonna use that." I mean, it's just like, "Thanks, Jim. Thanks."
Yeah, but he did stuff when I saw him in Connecticut, man, where I was like, "Is this guy human?" He's like the rubber man.
They should have put that in the outtakes. They had outtakes on Liar Liar. That would have been hilarious.
It would have been.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah. So we got about 3 minutes left. What do we want to say?
Well, we're going to talk about what we did this summer. That wasn't that our original.
Yeah, we really hit that.
I told you, John. The show goes nowhere where we ever plan it.
We were going to talk about nuclear physics, and it just didn't happen.
Well, you know what? A lot of it was just catching up with an old friend. I mean, I haven't
it was great.
Talked to John in ages. I mean,
thanks so much for being on the show, man. We like I said, we really didn't have a lot of interaction, but I've always been an admirer. You're lightning fast, and you showed my mother mercy, and I gotta tell you, at her wake, I actually mentioned that story. I did, nice. And I mentioned you by name, and
when the show ends and we stop recording, do not go off the show because you have to do. You gotta get rid of your background. You have to do your Messina impression for them.
Why can't we see the Messina impression?
Because he's got to walk. He's got to do the walk.
I see.
He's got to do the walk. The walk is the whole thing. The walk is the whole thing. So anyway, listen. Let's thank John Mulrooney for being here.
Man,
give a round of applause. Old friend. I'm John Ferrentino. There's Craig Mitchell. There's Mike Grief, and you can catch us on everything. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify,
Podcast Playground, baby.
Anywhere you hear your podcast, you can hear us.
Any podcast, and it always starts Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. So that's when you can
generally find us hanging outside your.
John, do you think this is a bad idea? Rather than calling us the Big Bad Broadcast in order to get viewers, at one time we're going to call ourselves the Joe Rogaine Show.
I like it, Joe. But you'll have to shave your heads.
No, you want to just have a name that attracts people. Just call us like Kitten Tits.
Well, you know,
What'd you say?
Kitten tits or something like that.
Kitten tits.
I lived in Vegas for a year, and everything in Vegas, if you're an unknown like I was promotion. And I said, and I remember Stevie Sharippa telling me, "Yeah, you gotta promote yourself. You gotta get out there, get yourself all promoted up." I said, "No, I'm just gonna change my name to Topless Prime Rib."
$2.95 buffet.
$2.95 Topless Prime Rib. I'll pack it every night.
So let's hear it for John Mulrooney.
All right.
Yeah,
Thanks,
one more
John.
time. Don't go anywhere, anybody, once we sign off.
All right, we'll see you next week, same time, same bat
Same
channels.
Bye-bye.